Dame Maggie Smith has died, and today we give thanks for her life and her extraordinary career. We've lost one of the greats, my dear, one of the greats, at the age of 89 after a 70-year career. I fell in love with the younger version of Maggie Smith from the prime of Miss Jean Brodie, that fabulous film for which she won her first Oscar, I believe, and also appearances she made with Kenny Williams, with whom she was very good friends back in the day, and they had a wonderful, warm friendship with a shared sense of humour, and they did some poetry readings together, which I'm also going to share at the end of this broadcast as a small little tribute. But to modern audiences, of course, she's known as Violet Crawley of Downton Abbey and as Professor McGonagall from Harry Potter, as well as so many things that we've loved throughout the years. I rather enjoyed her as Granny Wendy in Hook. And she leaves, of course, her sons Toby Stephens and Chris Larkin, and they were the ones who announced her death, and they said that it is with great sadness we have to announce the death of Dame Maggie Smith. She passed away peacefully in hospital early this morning, Friday the 27th of September. An intensely private person, she was with friends and family at the end. She leaves 2 sons and 5 loving grandchildren who are devastated by the loss of their extraordinary mother and grandmother. We would like to take this opportunity to thank the wonderful staff at the Chelsea and Westminster Hospital for their care and unstinting kindness during her final days. We thank you for all your kind messages of support and ask that you respect our privacy at this time. She was born Margaret Natalie Smith in 1934 in Essex, and these are the last known public photographs of her, according to the press, when she was involved in a fashion campaign, yes, in her winter season. These glorious, delicious photographs. I have to say props must go to Loewe, who hired her for these wonderful portraits. Just lovely. And she was made a DBE, a Dame of the British Empire, back in 1990 by the late Queen Elizabeth II. So as I say, I'm going to cobble together just a small tribute to her poetry reading together with Kenneth Williams at the end of the broadcast. Before we get into things, I've been getting a lot of questions, as I always have done, about what lipstick shade I use, the brand of lip liner, the brand of eyeshadow. I've had this throughout the 3 years, and I thank you so very much for the compliments you paid to me. It's very flattering, and for all the questions asked. I understand why you ask them. I hate to come across as if I'm gatekeeping or being rude, but the reason why I never reply and answer and furnish you with the information of what brands I'm wearing, well, there's multiple reasons which I've addressed before. First of all, nobody's paying me to promote their brands. And second of all, even if they were, when it comes to things like makeup colours and makeup shades, what you see is not how they are, just as this throne behind me, if you will, which is actually a very basic purple in colour, will sometimes come across as burgundy or magenta or black. I have to slightly change the contrast and the brightness depending on what I'm wearing and the lighting of the day for every video. So whatever you see, I promise you, is not how it actually appears in real life. That goes for the clothes as well. The colour of my eyes changes between videos. So that's just one of the many reasons why I don't respond to those messages. Please don't think that I'm being uppity or rude about it. It's for many reasons, but also to protect you from wasting your money. That the reason I come out with some winning looks and some not so winning looks is because I play. I encourage you to play and go out and find the shades and the colour matches that suit you, and I can assure you that that can be done using the cheapest stuff from the high street, playing about in it and having fun with it, as well as the highfalutin brands. Also, and moreover, and this is the most important point for those of you who very kindly paid compliments when I get it right. For example, in the last broadcast, I'm going through a lip liner phase, so I was plumping up my lips with lip liner, not with lip filler, Mr. Marilyn. Very cheeky, not with lip filler. I'm too afraid. I'd love to have a play with the old filler, but I know too many horror stories about the antidote not working properly, shrinking hyaluronic acids, and staying in the skin for decades, so I'm afraid I'm too chicken to play about with that sort of thing. I got it right in the last broadcast because I am not afraid to experiment. Sometimes I experiment and get it wrong, and I've got a feeling today is going to be a bit of a clanger. I experimented with a darker liner. I really wanted to have fun with it, but I'm not sure that it's reading exactly as I'd like it to read, and not as good as the last one. So my point is that sometimes you're going to get it right and sometimes you're going to get it wrong. But the best advice I can give you, or beauty advice, colour advice, is to go out and play. And do it for yourself. Do the experimenting, and don't be looking to influencers and tickers and talkers and beauty experts to tell you what to get and what to buy and what colour to get, because most of it won't be genuine, authentic advice anyway. Go and pick up something really cheap, some sort of palette from your local drugstore or beauty parlour. It doesn't have to be highfalutin, and just play around with the various colours and the shades and the textures. And see how it reads for you, my dear. So that's that. We can move on from the affairs of beauty now. The Jekyll and Hyde nature of Meghan Markle is being paraded in a PR tug-of-war showdown. The mirror has two faces, doesn't it, my dears? And so does the Markle. You know the rhyme? Do you remember the rhyme? There was a little girl, and she had a little curl, the girl with the pearl, right in the middle of her forehead. When she was good, she was very, very good, and baked cookies and crumbles. But when she was bad, she was horrid. She was horrid. And this seems to apply to the Duchess, because on one side we have aides running to ferociously defend their faux queen, their pseudo-queen. Springing to her defence they are, and speaking of her caring nature. Oh, she's so over-the-top kind. Praise has been lavished upon the Duchess. Lavished. Lavished. Like double cream on blackberries. US Weekly, no, I always get that wrong, don't I? Us Weekly spoke to current and former employees, 5 on the record. Always seems to be 5, doesn't it, my dear? Puts me in mind of that People business, that People puff piece. 5 friends. They've come forward to set the record straight, or so they say. What record? A broken record. The broken record of puff pieces we keep getting instead of the puff pastry of American Riviera Orchard's kitchen. It seems that the Sussex camp are taking steps to parry the attacks that have been emerging recently. We are told that Meghan's email signature says, "My working day may not be your working day. Please do not feel obliged to reply to this email outside your normal hours." Very canny, isn't she? Or so she would like to imagine. Possibly covering her back legally from any complaints? Or is it just a result of having her fingers burnt in the past from claims made against her? We are told that she sends personal emails of gratitude and that she has never been heard yelling towards her staff. Well, to be fair, I've actually heard the same from people that I've spoken with. I know that people like to have this impression of her strutting about yelling at everybody, but I've been told that she's more stealthy than that, and that it's more about the old-fashioned look and the duplicitous nature of the gal. The ex-member of staff says, "We're here for a reason." Yeah, you're there for the Royal Association, aren't you, honey? Hunty? That's why you're there, for the Royal Association and the payday. If you come for our bosses, you're coming for us. This isn't a criminal organisation. We're trying to do good. Show up and do good. Good for nothing. Enter former Archwell President, or COO, Mandana Dayani, and her former head of content. Excuse me, what content? What content? It doesn't seem to be very forthcoming, does it? Well, his name is Ben Browning. Ben Brownlows? Mandana says that there has been an endless and damning narrative. So much of the kindness and mentorship and support that they share with others happens behind closed doors. Well, we can ask Sophie Edinburgh about that, can't we? We can ask the former Countess of Wessex, as she was. We can ask Agent High Heels, our dear Angie Kelly. We can ask them about what went on with all that kindness behind closed doors. We can ask Princess Charlotte. The temerity of these people, the temerity to talk of endless and damning narratives. After all of their type, after all of their endless damning narratives about the royal family and of this kingdom. Tripe. Ben Brownlow says that working with them was positive and supportive, and he said the narratives we've seen suggesting the contrary are untrue. Well, ask the Sussex survivors, Ben Brownlows. Ask those who spoke to the Hollywood Reporter just recently. Ask the Spotify executive who accused them of being fucking grifters. Ask the late Queen Liz, who said recollections may vary. Now, if you cast your mind back to early June, when I furnished you with the whispers that were doing the rounds, before they even began emanating anywhere else, I furnished you and I revealed both of these narratives that we are now seeing playing out in the press. Yes, I did, and you heard it. These narratives that are now being brandished by the opposing factions within the camp, almost to the letter of what I told you. And, you know, I told you that she wears a mask. I told you that she is syrupy sunshine to those that she deems useful. The Mandanas and the Ben Brownloses. She deems them useful, you see. And I told you that it's a pattern, and that this happens in all of the palaces, and with all of the film crews, and with all the publishing teams, and with all the rescue chicken coops. There are always opposing factions, and I described the faction that bear the brunt of Meghan's duplicitousness are what I termed the middlers. Not the highfalutin ones that are extremely important to her, but the middlers of the team. The ones that she assumes will be of no use to her down the line. That's what I said. I said that there was an air of duplicitousness, and I said that what I've been told is that the first few weeks she's a study in charm itself, charm and charisma in spades, and this matches up with what we're told by Mandana, who says, some of my favourite memories were during our weekly meetings in their Montecito home, where Meghan always served the most incredible lunches, snacks, and her latest beautiful concoction. Ah, where's my double cream for the blackberries? Let's lavish it on. Lavish as thick as we possibly can. Lavish. And can I please have some of that butter you churned, full fat? No margarine for my toast. Let's layer it on, my dears. Some clotted cream for my scones with jam. Lavished. Layer after layer. Did the dictator in heels dictate this to you, Mandana, love? And was she reclining on a chaise longue a la Babs Cartland as she was doing it? Is that why she's known as a dictator in heels? Kim Jong-un in stilettos. She's not glamorous enough to be known as a dictator in heels. I reject it. Whether she is or not, she is not glamorous enough to be a dictator in heels. She's nonsense on stilts. Don't you forget it. And can I please ask, did these ex-staffers not have to sign NDAs? I'm sure that Archerwell wouldn't employ anybody without taking those steps, would they? Non-disclosure agreements. Or is that process waived if the disclosures involve fawning praise of the couple? Well, another narrative has come to light, not quite so flattering, for consideration, via the Daily Beast. And no, I'm not speaking about Meghan. I'm speaking about publication, the Daily Beast, which paints a very different picture. And it quotes former employees, the middlers that I speak of, and people who have worked for her. Yes, it directly quotes them. So another publication who is telling us that they have concrete information from concrete sources. Employees. And they speak of one courtier who worked for Meghan and Harry as part of their service to the palace. They told the Daily Beast, "There have been plenty of difficult royals over the years. Meghan's bad moments were amplified and distorted and blown out of proportion." So there's that to consider. That said, there definitely were bad, very bad, even psycho moments. Psycho! I witnessed people being chewed up in person and over the phone and made to feel like shit. But it was an incredibly fraught time, and I'm inclined to give her the benefit of the doubt. She has said herself she was suicidal at times, and whoever this was pointed out the fact that Jason Knauf made that complaint all those years ago, and another person who worked with Meghan in the run-up to her wedding told the Daily Beast, "I always thought she was a classic narcissist, and getting her staff to tell a magazine how amazing she is only confirms that in my mind. She is lovely when it is all going her way, but a demon when the worm turns." Another source told of how a florist was screamed at down the phone for half an hour for posting online an insignificant detail about a bouquet that they'd been working on for Meghan. Even though they didn't identify that Meghan was the client, it still put the wind up her. They vowed never to work with her again, despite the prestige of having her as a client. If you were working for her, you were treated like a tradesman who could be treated like shit. So this is the quiz. Which Meghan do you see? The Duchess of Sussex, Countess of Dumbarton, Duchess Difficult, Double Dutch, the duplicitous, the humble advocate and lunch pail cookie baker, Meghan Markle. Ding! Or the uppity baggage known as Rachel Ragland? That's for you to decide. His Majesty the King was at Dumfries House supporting the King's Foundation. He attended a reception for the charity's recent graduates, met local people on an estate walk and spoke to school pupils on outdoor learning sessions. The King's Foundation is held at Dumfries House, building and supporting communities where people, places and the planet can coexist in harmony. In a very moving show of respect, the Princess Royal witnessed the burial of two First World War soldiers who had died at the Battle of Loos in 1915. The burials marked the inauguration of an extension to the Loos British Cemetery in northern France, which will provide a fitting resting place for the casualties, most of whom came from Scottish regiments and whose bodies were discovered during a local construction project. Her Royal Highness, who is President of the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, was joined by serving soldiers from the Royal Regiment of Scotland. We remember their service and their great sacrifice. The Duchess of Edinburgh has been in Surrey. Sophie's been in Surrey, and she was wearing Gabriella Hurst. This blazer is in the shade of chocolate, and she trotted around on Jimmy Choo's, toting a zebra print bag. This was at the Main Chance Animal Sanctuary, which is a horse rescue charity, and she was photographed with Stumpy, the rescued chicken, named for the Harkles because Stumpy's got Harry's hair and Meg's legs. She fed horses and delighted in nature, and earlier in the day she'd been playing games and helping children with arts and crafts projects at the Hale Community and Youth Centre in Farnham, and there were hugs for the ecstatic school children. She enjoyed a cup of tea and received blooms in purple and gold that matched her dangly earrings by Julia Borella and the Cassandra Gold pendant with a quote by Bob Marley, "Love the life you live the life you love." Well, go on, Sophie dear, well, go on. I'll leave you with the poetry that I promised, read by Maggie Smith and Kenneth Williams. This poem is called Death in Leamington. It's not a feel-good poem, I'm afraid, my dears. It's more reflective in its tone with some sadness and poignancy. It's by John Betjeman. And I think it is beautifully read, and it really illustrates the classically trained voices, male and female, of this country. And to briefly summarise it, is the scene of a dying woman, which is why I feel, although it's slightly melancholy on today, it is appropriate. It's a scene of a dying woman in a bedroom by the light of an evening star, and it tells us about her nurse coming in with some tea and to prepare the room for the evening, and it's full of suggestions about an ending world, a decaying world, if you will, and it evokes sadness and loss, time and mortality. It's those sort of themes, my dear, with depictions of the fading grandeur of the Victorian era. So I hope you enjoy it, and well, we can be thankful for a fabulous life, a fabulous career, and what sounds like a fabulous death, surrounded by those who loved her and that she loved, peacefully, after a fruitful life. So truly something to be thankful for. And she did us proud, didn't she, here in the kingdom? She really did, our Dame Maggie. Fabulous. Thank you for joining me, my dears. Do feel free to furnish the comment section, the fruit basket, with your fruity, juicy comments. And if you enjoyed the show and care to send a treat, my tip jar is in the box. See you next time, my dears. Toodle pip.
She died in the upstairs bedroom by the light of the evening star that shone through the plate glass window from over Leamington Spa.
Beside her, the lonely crochet lay patiently and unstirred, but the fingers that would have worked it were dead as the spoken word.
And Nurse came in with the tea things, breast high mid the stands and chairs. But Nurse was alone with her own little soul, and the things were alone with theirs.
She bolted the big ground window. She let the blinds unroll. She set a match to the mantel. She covered the fire with coal.
And tea, she said in a tiny voice. Wake up, it's nearly 5. Oh, chintzy, chintzy cheeriness, half dead and half alive.
Do you know that the stucco is peeling? Do you know that the heart will stop? From those yellow Italianate arches, do you hear the plaster drop?
Nurse looked at the silent bedstead, at the grey, decaying face, as the calm of a Leamington evening drifted into the place. She moved the table of bottles away from the bed to the wall, and tiptoeing gently over the stairs, turned down the gas in the hall.